Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. Happy Wednesday, and I am just really glad to be here. I was hoping I would be able to get in at least one reading during the course of this week, hoping to get in a full complement, of course, this weekend. But definitely wanted to get one in because of the type of energy that I've been feeling. So I've been pretty focused on the job that I just started, which, by the way, it's going famously. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful wishes that have come from you guys. The outpouring of love is just nothing short of humbling. I thank you so much. But even in the background, when I get into my meditation, I am inundated by the energy of what happens in this situation and the changes that are happening in the collective. So we're going to go ahead and look at both of those. So, of course, the changes in the collective once we get into the you portion of the reading. But the you portion of the reading often reflects the rest of what's going on here in this energy that's happening with your person, but that's also impacting you. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at kind of the whole picture. We're going to start out, of course, just by looking at the energy and getting a closer look at that, because that, I think, alone bears some scrutiny. So it will be a general reading for this collective. It's not going to resonate with everyone, but if it does resonate with you, by all means, hit like and subscribe. Um, Take a look at some of the ones that the videos and messages that have come before, get caught up. All of these messages are very much connected. So I'm going to read for you with the Spirit Song Tarot, and then I've got the Baroque Tarot, and then our Oracle deck for today will be the Sacred Destiny Oracle. Okay, so I think, where do I want to start? I'm going to go ahead and start with the Spirit Song. Really looking into just sort of that backdrop, that emotional and energetic backdrop. Heavy on their energy, but what's happening in there? What's happening in that energy right now? Temperance. Movement toward clarity. It feels like there's a dreamlike quality to that. I feel like there's clarity maybe coming from dreams, probably true for both of you right now. Clarity, new perspective with the Hanged Man and the Ace of Acorns, new opportunity. Okay, so this is a great opportunity because they may not get super self-destructive about this energy. It's got a very clean feel to it. So remember in the last reading, over the weekend, they weren't seeming like they were out and out self-destructive. It's not outright self-destructive, but they're also not doing especially well by themselves in the energy they've been in. So this has been kind of the energy of someone who needed to be left alone to work some things out, who needed to figure out how to straighten up and fly right. And so now with a new perspective coming out, this is allowing them to make better use of this energy, especially because of kind of seeking this temperance. Although I feel like this has that feeling of one of those dreams that you have that impacts you throughout the day. It's like they had a dream that impacts them throughout the day, that has them feeling more stable than they ordinarily would under whatever the circumstances are. So that is a decidedly positive sort of energy that they've got coming out here. Here we've got the Chariot, so that's decisive movement forward. 10 of Cups. Okay, so we know there's potential for communication, or at least there has been in some of this energy. And with the new moon, definitely kind of that feeling of wanting to move in a new direction. With the King of Wands, there's a lot of passion. King and Queen of Wands coming out together. Tons of passion, tons of drive, a sense of the concept of leadership keeps coming up here. Now with the Queen of Wands, it's passionate, but it's also very fiery. So sometimes kind of doesn't bring the greatest of the logic into play. So you might find a little bit of intensity there that is difficult to back up by the light of day. Here with the Ten of Cups, though, that's that feeling of uh, really that feeling of the fantasy becoming reality and blurring the lines. So that is something that I've noticed. I have kept the personal readings going across the week, and what I was noticing in the weekend and what I was noticing even into this week, there is a lot of the blurring of the lines between the fantasy and the reality. There's a strong sense of wanting to move forward, but it's not always super realistic, and so some of them are going to stop themselves and say, "Hey, whoa, this is you're trying to do a fantasy and it's not realistic." But the passion is going to win out for some of them. And I would just say this is someone, you have some decisions to make. So in the last extended, we saw some very positive implications that although it would take some time to work through, messages are going to make it through to your person, and they are going to be able to work their way back into a union with you of some kind. So you will have decisions to make about whether you want to take that when it comes. And you were also told to be aware that until they get to a certain point, they're not going to be able to give you that equal give and take that you know that you deserve. And at this point, this is one of those things about you that is pretty much unmistakable. You're very aware of what you're worth, and you're aware of when you're not getting it. So you may have to keep them at arm's length for a while, which could have the tables turning a little bit. So I've gotten the question a couple times here about the runner becoming the chaser and kind of switching places. That is a real possibility under this energy, but I don't know that that's going to be happening for the vast majority of you. It assumes they get over the hump of um, communication, because they're still not really in the mood for vulnerability, or at least they haven't been. Although we've got secrecy toppling here, which kind of feels like vulnerability to me. But with the Knight of Cups, I feel like they're kind of still keeping a sense of mystery with the moon. Sense of a night with the Knight of Cups. There's this feeling of not putting their entire, like, they don't say everything. They say a whole bunch of things and it feels like vulnerability, but what you'll discover if you were to look more deeply, they're not telling the whole story. They're still keeping a fair amount of mystery there, so they're kind of cherry picking what they're saying, what they're telling you. Which I don't know how strange that is. Your person has found themselves sort of redefining vulnerability here in the recent past. That's something that they've been doing here, and I think maybe they're doing in this space, but they're still feeling fairly reluctant to be vulnerable, so you'll see them hiding. Um, that was another piece that we talked about in the extended, and I always like to kind of talk a little bit about what came out in the extended. It's not supposed to be a secret. But it is an opportunity for more things to come out. So we learned this new this new vulnerability appears to be kind of redefined a little bit more tightly than it was before. So it feels like it's going the right direction. This is healing for your person. So even if it doesn't happen quickly, it's still healing. They're learning about being vulnerable being vulnerable about things they don't feel like they have a lot of control over, things that they feel like they should be doing but maybe they don't have the motivation to do, things that they need to be fighting for but they don't know how to make themselves do. These are all things that they feel shame about, and they don't want to explain that, and so that's where the vulnerability really sits for them. That makes it kind of a decidedly difficult hill for them to get over, because of, both of you are having a bit of a crisis of the ego, and that for them that is unthinkable to be able to admit. Something that maybe 6 months ago they might have been able to admit, and 6 months from now they might be 6 weeks from now they might be able to admit, but right now it's very difficult. Speaking of six, they've got a six of pentacles here in the reverse, which just kind of reiterates their inability to rise to the occasion when the time comes. This feels like a missed opportunity because this is someone who's not able to give you that equal energetic give and take when the time comes to do so. So you may have them reaching out, but again, end up needing to leave them or keep them at arm's length for a little while until they finish growing, doing some of the growing that they need to do. And not to say that they have to finish all of it, but just to at least get to a good point. So let's look a little bit more into this energy. We've talked a lot about where they are right now relative to where they've been in the last few days. Let's see what else you need to know about this, because there's been some pretty intense energy. Honestly, I really started noticing it coming up in the meditation on Monday. That's where it probably started ramping up, where I was able to notice it. Three of Feathers. Okay, so something about seeing a lesson again, but not feeling... Oops. Whoa, hold up. I just dropped a whole bunch of cards here. Okay. So feeling triggered, but not necessarily having the emotions that go along with it. I dropped a whole bunch of cards, and hopefully I got them all stacked. And okay, we'll just go about our business here. Sorry about all that. So Three of Feathers, like I was saying, it's about not feeling the pain of the triggering this time around. So still having some triggering, still having the reaction, but then there's not as much of an extreme pain reaction. There's a sense of, with the Five of Acorns, not wanting to get into it this time. That is a very direct quote. Not wanting to get into it this time. So my question is, what are they not wanting to get into? They're being a little bit avoidant about something. Five of Feathers doesn't have it. They're saying they don't have it in them, and they don't want to get into it this time. So I'm curious to understand exactly who it is or what it is they don't want to engage at this time. But what I'm seeing with the Five of Acorns in the reverse, that's fire energy. And the Five of Feathers in the reverse, that's air energy. That's just sort of it's not even a going with the flow so much as it is just laying down and saying, I give up. There's some element of giving up in this energy. So we have the Five of Pentacles in the reverse. Another five in the reverse. So fives are all about change, and this feels to me like holding back a change, or maybe just behaving more like dead weight so that the change has to bring you along. But the thing I see here with the Five of Pentacles is a realization that they have made some changes, and so when they kind of have this reaction, they realize that it is an overreaction. And with the Three of Feathers that came up over there, that's like a Three of Swords in the reverse. With the Three of Feathers that came up over here, that's realizing that this really wasn't none of this is the right reaction, that they've got to calm way down. This Five of Pentacles in the reverse, though, that's recognizing that they've made some progress and seeing that this is why the triggering doesn't hurt as badly, and you never know that until it hits you again. So now we have the King of Cups. King of Cups in the upright is incredibly charismatic. This is a very charismatic king that is generally has good intentions and wants to do things for the right reasons, but is often ruled by ego. And we know there are some challenges around ego at this time. But here we see the ability to kind of let go of something, or something is changing. Your person is being forced to let go of something here. So it feels like what up here, when I was saying I couldn't tell what they were engaging or failing to engage up here, whether it was you or the situation, looks a little bit like both. And the common link is your person's emotional state. So remember that both of you are enduring a little bit of a crisis of the ego, but it looks pretty differently, or it's happening pretty differently for the two of you. You might find yourself pretty open to the learnings. They're having a tougher time. So I see a lot of resistance to the messages that are coming through for them. And a lot of, it's themselves throwing them off balance. It's their refusal to move forward, creating obstacles in their own path. Over here, we see more of that refusal to move forward. But they also want to find the harmony. And that's what we see here. They want to find the harmony. They want to go through the door. They just kind of can't allow themselves to do it, that sort of thing. So there's definitely a sense of change, and then there's like this disappointment where they're observing themselves not making the change. And what's one of the most important things here is that they are observing themselves not making the change. This is helping to build trust within them, although they would probably not look at this and ever really think that, because when they look at it, they think, I'm failing you again. Okay, but they're doing it with a little bit more clarity this time, and feeling, frankly, a little disturbed that they don't feel more emotion around this. They remember extreme happiness with you because you are that source of happiness for them. It just comes up over and over and over. This is the sun. This is the representation. I guess one of the things that I'm curious about is if they're fighting on two fronts, because at this point it's like they're fighting with the emotion around getting vulnerable with you. They're also fighting with regard to the third party. That's, I feel like, part of what they are refusing to engage, or they're just trying to get to a place where they don't have to engage. They're letting go of something where it makes them wonder if they even have to engage anymore. But there's that feeling of not having a choice in the matter, but being able to grow past that. And we saw that in, might have been the very last reading that we just did here. So we have the Lover's card in the upright. That's the card that I was just thinking of when I was talking just now. So right now it feels like there's something they don't have a choice about. They've got this amazing situation, this amazing way that you've made them feel extreme happiness, and it feels like it's worth fighting for. They feel that they are ready to fight for it under some circumstances, but not all. So when you get them in a mood like this, they're ready to communicate. They're going to be very charismatic. They're ready to fight for it. They think about things kind of in a way that feels very romantic, but it feels a little bit like riding a white horse off into the sunset. So it's not entirely realistic, especially when you look at the fact that they kind of won't engage the situation. So this is, again, where I think we're seeing more of an intersection between the fantasy and the reality. So you may find there's kind of conversation that happens, and then there's action, and the action is not as impressive as some of what happens in the conversation. So it's a sense of not necessarily standing behind their words. There's a lot of them trying to find balance, and we know that they're looking for harmony. I see that throughout these cards. So their intentions are pretty positive, but it's like, what do they have to do to find peace? Because they've got to find peace in two different places. They've got to find peace with you, and they've got to find peace through learnings that they're still working through with this third party. When we get into the extended, that's what we're going to look at. It's going to be what does it look like for them to find peace with you? And through that, we're also asking for advice on how you can be addressing this. Some of, like, what is the energy that's coming your way, and how can you be expected to accommodate that or address it if it comes directly to you? And then also, what is happening with the energy of them in this third party? I've been dancing around a third party reading here for the last several, and one of the things, it keeps not being the right time, and yet it'll show up. So I think it showed up in one of the readings. I did a meditation ahead of time, and the answer that I got in the meditation was, do not do a third party reading just yet. And then as we got into the reading, it was like, as we approached the extended, it was, you can ask the question now. The rest of this had to come out first as context. So I feel like understanding how they are experiencing challenges, both with you, the experience with you, where it feels like those emotions have blossomed again, kind of more recently. They're feeling that flooding that we saw a few days ago. But there's also this kind of additional friction happening with the third party. So we'll look into that too. First, let's do the you portion of the reading before we get into the extended. So of course the extended, the link will be down below this reading in the description, so if you want to go to that. But let's do the you portion of the reading. So where should your focus be given the rest of what we see here on this table, given what you've been working on here lately, giving all the efforts that you've been putting in. And we know there's a lot of new opportunity out there. You guys know I just started a new job and it's electric with opportunity, but I also, I mentioned at one point that there is some pretty significant opportunity for drama in a great many ways. So far, so good. But this job is not with a new company. This is with a known entity. And there's just a potential for it. And that's the same thing that I would say in general is true for all of you. As you've got these opportunities, you also have challenges, complexities that show up in there. Not that you can't manage it, but it's all about how you're going to manage it. So we've got the Tower, change coming your way. We're just kind of talking about that. And then we've got the Knight of Shells. Knight of Shells here in the reverse, that's kind of like the Knight of Cups. It's water energy, and it's a strong feeling of just being very cognizant of what you communicate and to whom. So whether you've got a social situation that's changing or a job situation, or utilize your logic, be very defensible, be careful what you say. So watch your words, mind your actions, and have some idea of how that's going to look to other people. So think about, I'm not saying you need to be manipulative. I don't want to suggest that, but absolutely do think about, from a logical standpoint, how to defend any actions that seem like they would require defense. So there's something here about keeping something defensible. Now with the Page of Cups, there is a show of vulnerability required from you in a situation. It is not necessarily related to your person. This is something that grows you in a way that makes you more ready to deal with the situation with your person. And it's going to, you'll know the connection when you see it. You're going to feel a connection to a time when, and it's going to be the same time when you were making them incredibly happy. There's something here where you will hearken back to a situation. So your person's over here feeling triggered, so are you, but you're hearkening back to something that's kind of creating that triggering for you. Only this time you see something a little new, see something a little differently, something that is new, and it generates a significant change in you. And suddenly you don't even want the same things. Like there's a change in what you want. You suddenly realize, hold on, I don't have all the answers anymore. There is something in my overall values that needs to change, and it's a painless change. That's the beauty of it. This values change is something that you will just naturally jump into. It's like we talk about high vibration and low vibration. This is like you have come up to resonate with a type of vibe that allows you to make this shift fairly painlessly. It's like a shift it feels like forgiveness washes over you and you suddenly understand. You're able to accept something that went wrong in a previous time, and you're able to move on from it, and it's no longer going to create an obstacle for you. This is something that you realize that you are the one who holds the key. It really feels a lot like forgiveness, but I don't feel like it's forgiveness of your person. I feel like it's forgiveness for someone else, and not without its triggering. But like I said, there's a painless lesson here. It's a painless lesson that things fall into place in this particular lesson pretty nicely, but I would still say there's more to it. Again, watch your words, watch your actions, make sure that everything is defensible and that you're thinking things through, but don't go to the side of overthinking. You've got the Queen of Pentacles here and the King of Pentacles, which is an interesting combination because here it's like, I'm going to take care of everything. I've really got everyone's needs met. I'm going to have my own needs met. But here there's this sense of you almost not deserving. So be sure that you are considering and covering your own needs. And, kind of along the lines of, when you get in on a flight and they give you the spiel at the beginning of each flight, and they tell you if you have a child with you that you have to put on the oxygen mask, put it on yourself first, because obviously if you are running out of oxygen, you're not going to be able to put it on either of you. And so that's the order of things, but that's kind of the instruction here. So that seems super obvious when you're dealing with oxygen masks and when you're not under a situation, a stressful situation. It is less obvious sometimes in other situations. So just be sure you're taking good care of yourself. That's some of the advice that wants to come across here, but also stay tuned for that sense of what feels like forgiveness and for a pain-free lesson to just come in and just the shift occurs for you because you're very much ready for it. So you resonate with this higher frequency that allows you to say, yeah, okay, I can forgive this. It's not even really a stretch. I get that this is just who they were at the time that this happened. And now they're this person. Let's see how it goes. You know, I mean, it's a much more open-minded, not having expectations about a situation kind of feeling that comes out of this. So it's very freeing, but at the same time, not naive. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go over to the extended now, looking a little bit more deeply into the situation with your person. So again, seeing what's on that bridge to get them to a better place with you and how your interactions can impact that. And then also looking into that third party situation that seems to be impacting the energy with you pretty significantly. So we'll look into those when we get into the third party. Link is down below. It was wonderful to be able to jump in and do one of these for you today. Hope to see you again here. I'll probably skip tomorrow, but I want to get back in on Friday if at all possible. I just don't want to lose connection with you guys, and as long as I'm not overdoing it and I'm taking care of myself, then I feel like let's go in and investigate this where we can. So thank you so much. Once again, I appreciate all the incredibly kind notes, incredibly kind words. You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. I do a thank you reading every month, but it's just, I gotta say it outside of that. You guys are amazing, so thank you. So I'm off to go do your extended. I'll see you there, or I will see you in the next reading.